The rain drummed against the glass windows of the towering corporate building as Marcus Chun stepped out of his black sedan, his Italian leather shoes clicking against the wet pavement. At 38, he had built an empire from nothing, transforming a small tech startup into a multinational corporation worth billions. His sharp gray suit was tailored to perfection, and his presence commanded respect wherever he went. Yet despite all his success, Marcus felt an emptiness that no amount of money could fill. As he approached the building's entrance, a small figure huddled near the corner caught his attention. A boy, no more than 10 years old, sat on a wooden crate with a worn shoe-shining kit beside him. His clothes were too big for his tiny frame, clearly hand-me-downs, and his dark hair was damp from the drizzle. What struck Marcus most was the boy's eyes. They held a determination that seemed far too mature for someone so young. "Please, sir," the boy called out, his voice barely audible above the city noise. "Just $10 to shine your shoes? They'll look brand new, I promise." Marcus paused, his hand on the glass door. He had been approached by countless street vendors and beggars over the years, and his usual response was to keep walking. Time was money, and he had neither to spare on charity cases. But something about this child made him hesitate. "I'm sorry, kid. I'm running late for a meeting," Marcus said, his voice not unkind but firm. The boy's face fell, but he didn't give. Please, sir, I'm really good at it. My grandfather taught me before he passed. I just need $10. His voice cracked slightly, and Marcus noticed the boy's hands were shaking not from cold, but from something deeper. Marcus checked his watch. He was indeed running late for a crucial board meeting that could determine the future of a major acquisition, yet the boy's desperate eyes held him captive. Against his better judgment, he found himself walking toward the small figure. "All right," Marcus said, settling into the chair the boy had set up. $10, but make it quick." The boy's face lit up with a smile that could have powered the entire building. "Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. I'm Danny, by the way. Danny Martinez." As Danny began working on Marcus's shoes, his small hands moved with surprising skill and precision. The way he handled the brushes and polish spoke of countless hours of practice. Marcus found himself watching the boy intently, noticing details he hadn't seen before: the way Danny's stomach grumbled quietly, the careful way he used every drop of polish as if it were precious, the genuine pride he took in his work. "You're pretty good at this," Marcus admitted, genuinely impressed by the boy's technique. Danny beamed up at him. "My grandfather was the best shoe shiner in the city. He worked outside the old bank building for 30 years. He taught me everything: how to match the right polish, how to make leather shine like a mirror, how to treat every customer with respect no matter how they treat you." "Where is your grandfather now?" Marcus asked, though he suspected he already knew the answer. Danny's hand slowed for a moment. "He passed away 6 months ago. Cancer. That's when I started doing this." He resumed his work with renewed focus. "Someone has to take care of Mom now." The weight of those words settled heavily on Marcus's chest. He had been so focused on his own problems, board meetings, profit margins, stock prices, that he had forgotten what real responsibility looked like. Here was a 10-year-old boy shouldering burdens that would break most adults. "Tell me about your mother," Marcus said gently. Danny's face brightened again. "She's the most beautiful woman in the world. She works 3 jobs cleaning offices at night, stocking shelves at the grocery store in the morning, and taking care of Mrs. Peterson's baby in the afternoons. She never complains, never gets mad when I mess up. She just she just gives and gives." His voice grew quieter. "But she's been coughing a lot lately. Real bad coughs that wake me up at night. She won't go to the doctor because she says we can't afford it." Marcus felt something stir in his chest, a feeling he hadn't experienced in years. When was the last time he had thought about anyone other than himself? When had he last done something purely out of kindness rather than calculated self-interest? "The $10, Marcus said carefully. "What's it really for?" Danny's hands stopped moving. He looked up at Marcus with eyes that held the weight of the world. "There's a free clinic across town. They don't charge for the visit, but you have to pay for the medicine if you need it. Mom's been putting it off for weeks. Because she says we don't have enough money. But I've been saving up. I only need $10 more and then I can take her there after school tomorrow. Marcus felt his throat tighten. This child was sacrificing his own needs, working in the rain and cold, all to take care of his mother. It was a level of selflessness that Marcus had forgotten existed in the world. "How much have you saved?" Marcus asked. $43, Danny said proudly. "I've been working every day after school for 2 weeks. Most people just walk by, but some are kind like you. With your $10, I'll have enough for whatever medicine the doctor gives Mom." Marcus reached into his wallet and pulled out a crisp $50 bill. Danny's eyes widened as he saw it. "Sir, I can't take that much. You only agreed to $10. "Consider it a tip for excellent service," Marcus said, pressing the bill into Danny's small hand. "Your grandfather would be proud of the job you did." Danny stared at the money for a long moment, then looked up at Marcus with tears in his eyes. "Thank you, sir." "Thank you so much. This means Mom can go to the doctor today instead of waiting until tomorrow." As Danny packed up his shoe-shining kit, Marcus realized he had completely forgotten about his board meeting. For the first time in years, something else had taken priority over his business obligations. He watched as Danny carefully placed the money in a small envelope, already planning how he would convince his mother to use it. "Danny," Marcus called out as the boy started to leave. "What's your mother's name?" "Elena Martinez," Danny replied. "She's going to be so happy when I tell her about this." Marcus nodded, filing the name away in his memory. He watched as Danny disappeared around the corner, his shoe-shining kit bouncing against his small frame. Only then did Marcus look down. At his shoes, they gleamed like mirrors. Better than any professional service he had ever paid for. The next morning, Marcus found himself thinking about Danny and Elena Martinez. He had attended his board meeting the previous day, but his mind had been elsewhere. The acquisition had been approved, adding another $100 million to his company's value, but the victory felt hollow. All he could think about was a 10-year-old boy working in the rain to save his mother. On impulse, Marcus asked his assistant to find information about Elena Martinez. Within hours, he had a full report on his desk. Elena Martinez, 32 years old, worked exactly the jobs Danny had described. She had no health insurance, no savings, and was indeed suffering from what appeared to be a persistent respiratory infection that was getting worse. The family lived in a small apartment in one of the city's poorest neighborhoods. Marcus stared at the report for a long time, remembering his own childhood. His parents had been immigrants who worked multiple jobs to support their family. His father had cleaned offices at night, just like Elena. His mother had worked in factories, her hands raw and bleeding from the harsh chemicals. They had sacrificed everything so Marcus could go to college, could build the life he now lived. When had he forgotten that? When had he stopped seeing the Elena Martinezes of the world as real people with real struggles? That afternoon, Marcus made a decision that would change everything. He canceled his meetings and drove to the address in the report. The neighborhood was a stark contrast to the gleaming corporate towers where he spent his days. Children played in the narrow streets, their laughter echoing off the worn buildings. Elderly people sat on stoops, watching the world go by. It was a community, something Marcus realized he had been missing in his sterile, successful life. He found Elena Martinez's building and climbed the 3 flights of stairs to her apartment. When she answered the door, Marcus was struck by how young she looked, despite the exhaustion in her eyes. She was indeed beautiful, as Danny had said, but there was a fragility to her that spoke of too many sleepless nights and too much worry. "Mrs. Martinez?" "I'm Marcus Chun. I met your son Danny yesterday." Elena's eyes widened with recognition and concern. "Is Danny in trouble? Did he do something wrong?" No, Marcus said quickly. "Quite the opposite. He shined my shoes and he was remarkable, professional, courteous, skilled. You should be very proud of him." Elena's face softened with relief and pride. "Danny is a good boy. He's been trying to help since his grandfather passed. I keep telling him he should be playing with other children, but he insists on working. She paused, studying Marcus more carefully. You're very kind to come here, but I'm sure you have more important things to do. Marcus shook his head. There's nothing more important than this conversation, Mrs. Martinez. May I come in? Elena hesitated, clearly embarrassed by the modest state of her home, but eventually stepped aside. The apartment was small but immaculately clean. Every surface gleamed, and despite the worn furniture, everything was arranged with care and pride. Photos of Danny and an elderly man Marcus assumed was the grandfather decorated the walls. Danny told me about your cough, Marcus said gently. He's been working to save money for your medical expenses. Elena's face flushed with embarrassment. That boy. I told him not to worry about me. Children shouldn't have to worry about such things. He loves you very much, Marcus said. He told me you worked 3 jobs to take care of him. A mother does what she has to do, Elena said simply. Danny is my whole world. Everything I do is for him. Marcus felt that familiar tightness in his chest. This woman who had so little was giving everything for her child. She embodied a kind of wealth that Marcus had never possessed, the wealth of unconditional love and sacrifice. Mrs. Martinez, I'd like to help, Marcus said. I'd like to pay for your medical expenses, and I'd like to offer you a job. Elena stared at him in shock. I don't understand. Why would you do this? You don't even know us. I know enough, Marcus said. I know that you're raising an exceptional young man. I know that you work harder than anyone I've ever met. And I know that everyone deserves access to health care and the opportunity to provide for their family without having to sacrifice their own well-being. Elena began to cry, not from sadness, but from overwhelming relief. I don't know what to say. This is too much. I can't accept charity. It's not charity, Marcus said firmly. It's an investment. I'm starting a new community outreach program for my company. I need someone who understands what it means to work hard, to care for others, to build a community. I need someone like you. Over the following weeks, Marcus's life transformed in ways he never could have imagined. Elena Martinez became the director of the Chun Foundation's Community Outreach Program, a position that utilized her natural empathy and deep understanding of the struggles facing working families. Her salary was enough to move her and Danny to a better apartment and to provide the health care she desperately needed. But more than that, Elena and Danny became part of Marcus's life in a way that filled the emptiness he had been carrying for so long. He found himself looking forward to their weekly dinners, where Danny would tell him about school and Elena would share stories of the families the foundation was helping. Through them, Marcus rediscovered the joy of genuine human connection. Danny continued to shine shoes, but now it was by choice rather than necessity. He had developed a reputation in the business district as the best shoe shiner in the city, and Marcus helped him set up a small stand inside the lobby of his building. The boy's natural charm and work ethic made him a favorite among the executives, and he was earning enough money to start a college fund. One evening, 6 months after their first meeting, Marcus sat in his office looking down at the bustling street below. Danny was at his shoe-shining stand, chatting with a customer while he worked. The boy had grown taller, his clothes fit properly now, and his eyes held the spark of a child who was allowed to be a child while still learning the value of hard work. Elena appeared in the doorway of his office, carrying a cup of coffee. She had become his unofficial advisor on all matters relating to the foundation, and her insights had helped them reach thousands of families in need. Penny for your thoughts? She asked, settling into the chair across from his desk. Marcus smiled. I was just thinking about how much my life has changed since I met you and Danny. I used to think success was measured by the size of your bank account or the number of companies you owned. But watching Danny work to save his mother, seeing your dedication to helping others, I realized I had been measuring the wrong things. Elena returned his smile. Danny asks about you constantly. He wants to know if you'll teach him about business when he's older. I'd be honored, Marcus said, though I think he's already teaching me more than I could ever teach him. As they sat in comfortable silence, Marcus reflected on the chain of events that had brought them together. A simple request for a $10 shoe shine had completely changed the trajectory of his life. He had gained a family, a purpose, and an understanding of what true wealth really meant. The Shun Foundation had grown beyond his wildest expectations, providing healthcare, education, and job training to thousands of families. But more importantly, it had taught Marcus that the most valuable investments were the ones you made in people, not portfolios. Danny appeared in the doorway, his shoe-shining kit in hand and a grin on his face. "Mr. Chun, I made $60 today, and Mrs. Patterson from the law firm on the 15th floor wants to know if you'll consider expanding the shoe-shining service to other buildings." Marcus laughed, ruffling the boy's hair. "We'll talk about it over dinner, but first, tell me about your day at school." As Danny launched into an animated story about his science project, Marcus caught Elena's eye. She was watching her son with the same mixture of pride and love she had always shown, but now there was something else: hope. Hope for the future, hope for opportunities, hope for a life where she didn't have to choose between her health and her child's well-being later. That evening, as Marcus drove home to his penthouse apartment, he passed the corner where he had first met Danny. The spot was empty now, but he could still picture the small boy with his shoe-shining kit, desperate to earn $10 to save his mother. That moment had been a turning point, not just for Danny and Elena, but for Marcus himself. He had learned that true leadership wasn't about commanding respect through wealth and power. It was about lifting others up, about seeing potential where others saw problems, about understanding that everyone has a story worth hearing. The $10 Danny had asked for had cost Marcus nothing, but it had given him everything that mattered. As he looked up at the stars beginning to appear in the darkening sky, Marcus smiled. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new opportunities to make a difference, and he would meet them with the same determination that Danny had shown that rainy day. The same selfless love that Elena demonstrated every day, and the same understanding that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply say yes when someone asks for help. The boy who had begged for $10 to save, his mother had ended up saving them all, teaching them that kindness is never wasted, that everyone deserves a chance to shine, and that the most important transactions in life can't be measured in dollars and cents. They're measured in the lives we touch, the hope we give, and the love we share along the way. Years passed, and the small shoe-shining stand in Marcus's building lobby became legendary. Danny, now 16, had grown into a confident young man who balanced his studies with his business. He had hired 2 other kids from his neighborhood, teaching them the same lessons his grandfather had taught him. The stand had become more than a business. It was a symbol of opportunity, a place where hard work and kindness intersected. Elena had flourished in her role at the Shun Foundation. Her natural ability to connect with people and understand their struggles had made her one of the most effective community leaders in the city. She had developed programs that didn't just provide handouts, but created pathways to self-sufficiency. Families who had once been on the brink of homelessness were now homeowners. Children who had struggled in underfunded schools were now receiving scholarships to prestigious universities. Marcus found himself thinking about legacy more often these days. Not the corporate legacy he had once obsessed over, but the human legacy, the lives changed, the hope restored, the cycles of poverty broken. The Shun Foundation had become his life's work, but it was Danny and Elena who had shown him what work truly meant. One autumn evening, as golden light streamed through the windows of the Foundation's headquarters, Marcus sat in a meeting with Elena and Danny, planning the next phase of their community outreach program. Danny, now preparing for his senior year of high school, had been accepted to 3 top universities on full scholarships. But he had also been developing his own business plan, a proposal to expand the shoe shining service into a comprehensive youth entrepreneurship program. The idea is to give kids in our situation a chance to learn business skills while earning money, Danny explained, his presentation polished and professional. We teach them about customer service, money management, goal setting, but most importantly, we teach them that honest work has dignity, no matter what that work is. Marcus smiled, remembering the determined 10-year-old who had first approached Your grandfather would be proud, he said. Not just of your success, but of how you're using it to lift others up. Elena wiped away a tear. He always said that the greatest gift we can give is the gift of opportunity. Danny, you're giving that gift to so many children. As the meeting concluded, Marcus walked to the window overlooking the street where he had first met Danny. The corner was now home to a small park that the foundation had funded, complete with benches and a memorial plaque dedicated to Danny's grandfather and all the hard-working people who had built the community through their quiet acts of service. Mr. Chun, Danny said, joining him at the window, I've been thinking about something. When I was little, shining shoes on that corner, I used to watch all the important people walk by in their expensive suits and fancy cars. I thought they lived in a completely different world from mine. But you showed me that we're all connected, that everyone's story matters. Marcus nodded, feeling the weight of that truth. I was one of those people walking by, Danny. I was so focused on my own world that I almost missed the most important lesson of my life. You and your mother taught me that real wealth isn't about what you accumulate, it's about what you give away. Danny grinned, the same bright smile that had first caught Marcus's attention all those years ago. Well, you definitely gave us more than $10 worth of opportunities. They laughed together, but Marcus felt the profound truth in Danny's words. That $10 transaction had been the best investment he had ever made. It had returned dividends not in money, but in meaning, purpose. And love. Elena joined them at the window, carrying a folder of thank you letters from families. The foundation had helped. I was just reading these, she said. A mother in Phoenix whose daughter is now a doctor. A father in Detroit who started his own construction company after our job training program. A grandmother in Miami who was able to keep her grandchildren because we helped her find stable housing. Marcus took the letters, reading the heartfelt words of gratitude. Each story was different, but they all shared common themes: hope restored, dignity preserved, futures transformed. These were the real profits of the Shun Foundation, the true measure of their success. You know what I realized? Marcus said, looking at Danny and Elena. That day when you asked me for $10, you weren't just asking for money. You were asking me to see you, to acknowledge your worth, to believe in your potential. And in doing that, you gave me the chance to become the person I was meant to be. Elena smiled, her eyes soft with affection. We all saved each other that day, Marcus. You gave us hope when we needed it most. But more than that, you gave us a family. As the sun set over the city, casting long shadows across the streets where their story had begun, Marcus felt a deep sense of completeness. The empire he had built was still thriving, but it was no longer the center of his universe. The relationships he had formed, the lives he had touched, the community he had helped build, these were the achievements that truly mattered. Danny was already planning his next venture, a non-profit organization that would provide microloans to young entrepreneurs in underserved communities. Elena was working on a book about community-based solutions to poverty, sharing the lessons she had learned from years of frontline work. And Marcus was preparing to step back from day-to-day operations of his company, dedicating more time to the foundation and the work that had given his life meaning. The story that had begun with a simple request for $10 had become something far greater, a testament to the power of human connection, the importance of seeing beyond surface appearances, and the truth that everyone has something valuable to offer if given the opportunity. As they prepared to leave the office that evening, Danny stopped at the memorial plaque in the small park. He placed his hand on the bronze surface, reading the inscription aloud, in memory of all who build communities through service, sacrifice, and love. Marcus and Elena stood beside him, 3 lives forever intertwined by a moment of kindness that had blossomed into something beautiful and lasting. The $10 had been repaid 1,000-fold, not in currency, but in the currency that mattered most, the currency of human dignity, hope, and love. The little boy who had begged to shine shoes had grown into a young man who was polishing something far more valuable, the lives of everyone around him. And in doing so, he had taught them all that the most important question isn't how much someone can pay you, but how much you can help them shine.